In 1983, we were driving on the Bay Bridge and this 18-wheeler around midnight hits us. And our little Honda turns over a few times and nothing happened to the three of us, my aunt, my brother and I. And I get out of the car and I realize that life can be taken from you at any moment. And I scream, I'm going to make something of my life. It was soon forgotten, of course. And I went back to being my stupid self. But you bargain, you bargain with your parents, you bargain with your friends, you bargain with your mom, your dad, your siblings, your instructors, with life. Just give me one more chance and I'll make it up. And you pray, but there are no answers coming your way. And when you realize that it doesn't matter how much you plead, you leave empty-handed. Now you have a different shade of anger. Now you leave my office saying, I knew Amir Sabzavari was an ass. You had 16 weeks, man. All of a sudden, I'm the villain. And then there comes a point where the dust settles and you find yourself in a place called grief. You tried to figure things out, you couldn't. You tried to bully other people with your anger. Eventually, you hit a brick wall. You tried to bargain with people, even yourself. It went nowhere. Now that all hope is gone, all the dreams have been shattered, like Job, you sit in the ruins of your life. You live in the dark. You're sad, you're sorrowful, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, you're in pain, you're devastated. There is nothing to hang on, and now you fall into despair. And if you want to know what despair is, read the story in the Old Testament, Jacob and Joseph, how Joseph falls into this well. And you know what he does? It's a well in the Middle East, some 2,500 years ago, like all wells. It's deep, it's dark. And for the first time you realize there is no one except you. And you can't even help you. And you scream and you shout. There is no one out there to help you. You're all alone. And should your emotions become intensified, where you're paralyzed physically, emotionally you're just in pain, intellectually your mind, despite all the things that you have read, all the degrees under your belt, all the things you may have in your life, you look out there and nothing gives you nourishment. And you come to this ultimate grim conclusion: my life has no meaning. My life is going nowhere. And then you do something that the organism is not designed. You want to end it. Now, if you happen to want to commit suicide like Martin Luther King Jr. or Jesus Christ or Mahatma Gandhi or Socrates, you walk towards your death saying, you know, I tried with the people down here. I tried to educate them. I tried to talk to them. I tried to reason with them. It was a complete disappointment. Nobody listens. I walk into society with compassion, generosity. I give of myself to everyone. In the end, everybody just spits in my face. Maybe it's best for me to die. When I enter into heaven, I will find people who can sit, who are willing to sit and enjoy sitting and having philosophical conversations, talking about meaningful things. That's the answer to your question. I don't know if you're familiar with this sociologist Emil Durkheim. I think he's also German. Yeah? I don't know, maybe he's from German. Oh wait, maybe he's from German. No, D-U-R-K. It doesn't matter. Durkheim. Durkheim. Around the 15th century, something interesting happened. You had a Christian guy, he was a monk, his father was sending him to school for him to be a lawyer. But one day in the forest, the sky was kind of gloomy and thundery, and a lightning bolt kind of just hits him right in front of his where he was walking. And he gets really, really scared. And he kneels and he begins to pray. If my life is spared, he said, I shall become a monk. His name was Martin Luther. And you know, like when you come to this class and you ask a question and you have this stupid assumption that what I say will kind of somehow satisfy you. And it won't. It never does. If you look at your question very, very carefully, I mean, sit in your room and ask, what is suicide? Why is suicide? If you stay with that question for 10 years, you will find the answer yourself. And once you find the answer, no one can take that from you. See, when you go home and you read a couple of pages from some book or you watch YouTube, you're going to walk away saying, oh, Amir was wrong. This guy is right. And it's like people play games with your emotions. They give you all these directions. In the end, you just end up being confused. And Martin Luther had argued that why do people go to confession? The church can't do anything if the kingdom of God lives inside you. It means if you have a question, knock on this gate. And if the gods like you, the gate will open and God will give you the answer. And it comes from you. Stop selling people indulgences. The Catholic Church didn't like that. So they tried to kill him. They tried all sorts of things. Eventually, of course, he prospered. Martin Luther did. And for the first time, the power of the Catholic Church was challenged. And now you have two huge Christian denominations. You have the Catholics and you have the Protestants. But one of the tragedies about Martin Luther was the following. You don't really need to go to Sunday Mass anymore. You can just sit home and read the Bible on your own. There is no need for congregation. And Martin Luther, to some extent, allowed people to become individuals. You have a question? Lock yourself in your room, read the Bible, find the answer. Well, your dad is out there, man. He's about 20 years your senior. Why don't you go talk to him a little bit? And there is a scholar over there, who's devoted his entire life to reading the Bible. Why don't you sit with 20, 30, 40 people and figure out the meaning of life? Why the hell do you want to do it on your own? And little by little, you realize that you will no longer have social skills. You'll become like a beast. You know, instead of looking at someone saying, hi, how you doing? How's your family? You just go like this. And you know what happens when you become an individual? Life is complicated. We come together because life is complicated. We build houses together. We cook food together. We eat together. We sit in a classroom together. Why? Because being alone is devastating. I'm not like a Socrates. I'm not like a Jesus Christ. I'm a regular, pathetic little human being who wants to just belong. God is unreachable to me. I want other people. So Emil Durkheim looked at society and realized that people who follow the philosophy of Martin Luther commit suicide more often, by 30%, than those who are Catholics. Sometimes depression and suicide are caused by basic brain chemistry. It's not very difficult to fix that. Sometimes it happens because of the social climate. Sometimes it happens because of familial environment. A father devastates you, a mother devastates you, a father passes. Now let's talk about fathers and masculinity, and then we'll talk about a missing parent, or two or three. Let me tell you a story that took place some 3,000 years ago about parenthood. I've changed my mind. I'll tell you a different story. Maybe I'll tell both of them to you, since I'm bored and you guys have made me angry. There is this wonderful story that you will find in the Gospel of Matthew. Again, remember, go home and read the 4 Gospels, not because you're religious, not because you're a lover of Christianity or enjoy being around Jesus. It's just good literature. And it's nice to have this knowledge inside you somewhere. Because though you may be 18 and you may not care for these ideas, you have no idea what life is going to do to you by the time you get to be 40 or 50 or 60. And so these stories may come in handy. You have a father, he struggled his life, and he saved some money, about 100,000. He has 2 sons. One is about 30, the other is about 20. When the oldest son was born, he was just very obedient. Life just made him obedient. He loved his father, never challenged him, never questioned him, never doubted him. Submitted his mind and his emotions to his father. His father would say, can you go and take the trash out? Absolutely, Dad. Can you buy milk? Definitely, Dad. Can you wash my car? Yes. Can you scratch my back? Yes. He didn't read Tony Robbins. He didn't watch YouTube clips. He didn't go to school to learn how to love. Life just made him that way. The 20-year-old son, the other one, it was a disaster. Life made him restless, like Gilgamesh. Who the hell knows why? You know, for those of you who've read the Epic of Gilgamesh, and most of you haven't, you don't even know who this guy is. The story goes back 5, 6, 7,000 years. His mom, Ninsun, she's just exhausted, man. She looks down and his son is just all over the place. He's handsome, he's rich, he's powerful, he can do anything. He keeps wasting things. And his mom looks at all these other gods and says to them, "Why have you given me a son whose heart knows no rest? You got a girlfriend, you're restless." Jay-Z comes down and says, "Joaquin, your music is beautiful." You're satisfied for a couple of days, you're restless again. Like a dog always chasing after your own tail. It doesn't matter what life gives you. You're just always on the move. Like you're cursed. And the 20-year-old goes to the father and says, "I don't want to be like my brother. He's a yes man, like Jim Carrey. I'm an American," he says. "I want to live my own life. Listen to the voice," or as Nietzsche would say in his stupid philosophy, there is a music that's playing on the inside. I want to dance to it. Another incompetent Westerner. His 60-year-old father, what can he say? What can he do to a son who has the demon, eudaimonia, on the inside? He wants to be happy. He just doesn't know what it means. And he grasps at any branch out there. Maybe I should go out with Janet, maybe Jim, maybe Jack, maybe I should buy a dog, maybe I should go to China. There is no rest inside this person, you see, this 20-year-old. And you know what the father says? Nothing. He says, "Son, here's my ATM card, and here's the code. Your share is about $30,000. Go, take it, whatever." You have no idea what you put your parents through, so that when they look at you, eventually they say, whatever, I'm done. I don't know what to do with you. No parent ever walks away, ever, unless they're just like drunk or something wrong with them. Relatively healthy parents, they will do what they can to protect you. And all parents, ultimately, all parents, they just give up. It's too much to work 6 a.m. till 5, come to a 2-bedroom, pay rent, pay utility, food, gas, a wife or a husband that nags, 2, 3 kids whose future is uncertain. How much can you carry on your shoulders before you break? Eventually, the father looks at this kid and says, "You know, I tried to reason with you, to give you some wisdom, but you're not in the right place to receive wisdom. It seems you're of the temperament where you have to go out there. Life needs to beat you up. Only then can you understand." So this kid takes his money. He's happy now. He doesn't answer to his father or to his brother or to his community. He is an individual. An individual with no shame. He doesn't ask, "How did you save all this money? Why do you just want to give this money to me?" You think his father what? Didn't tell him the difference between good pleasure and bad pleasure? Something that can benefit you or harm you? Of course he has. The problem with Jesus is that he leaves most of his stories incomplete. And I think there was a good reason why he left most of his stories incomplete. Why throw jewels before swines? I'm not going to tell them the secret of life to those who are not ready. I'm just going to give them some nuggets. If they're interested, they can lock themselves behind closed doors for 10 years and think about these stories, and hopefully they will get to the gold. And what do 20-year-olds do with $30,000? They go to Pete's and buy mocha every day. And then when they see an attractive young person out there, they say, hey, I got a truck. You want to go to the back seat and read the Bible with me? And they waste $30,000 on the most useless of things. And they feel powerful as long as they have the money. But money is like sand. It disappears very, very quickly. And after 2-3 months, this young 20-year-old looks at his life, looks in his pocket, and there is not a penny. He can't go to a hotel, he can't go to a motel. So I came to campus at 5 this morning, and I saw something I had never seen for the past 20 years of being here. There was this, as I was walking past by the carpentry building, there was this man, a young kid, maybe 30. He was just sleeping by the door of a classroom. And then it made me think, did his parents tell him, go to school, stay in school? Don't do drugs, don't drink, don't do porn? Why are you so angry all the time? Stay home. We'll do your laundry, we'll give you food, we'll give you a room, just go to school. And like this young kid some 2,000 years ago, he said, no, I trust myself. I don't want to live like you guys. I don't want to have a 9-to-5 job. I want to be creative. I hear this drumbeat inside, as Nietzsche said, because I read his book. Ideas are like money. If you don't know how to use ideas well, like money, they'll destroy you. It's great that you can read Das Kapital. Do you know how to use the ideas well? Because if you don't, they'll make you homeless. And no one enjoys being homeless. There comes a point where something really, really interesting happens to this kid. For the first time, he understands what it means to be homeless. For the first time, he really understands what it means to be in pain. What it means not to have a single soul in his life. You know what pain does to him? It forces him to reflect. The function of pain, it makes you think, and you won't like what you see. And the moment you begin to reflect, you will have emotions you've never had. Guilt, shame, anger because you see too much. Reflection makes you responsible for all the awful things that you have done. And then for the first time, you will know what it means to be poor. Value of money you understand. Value of parents you understand. Value of a room you understand. Laundry, food. See, power got you drunk. Made you blind. Pain forces you to see. Pain forces you to repent. For the first time, you know what humility is. You look yourself in the mirror and you say, Joaquin, how could you have been so stupid? You had $30,000. It could have taken you all the way to the PhD. You could have bought a 1-bedroom, a car. But you spend it on drugs, on booze, on porn. How stupid. But you do something really interesting. You say, you know what? I'm going to take my shame and my guilt and my remorse and my repentance. I'm going to offer them to my Father. I don't know if he'll still like me. I don't know if he'll take me, receive me, but I'm going to walk to my Father. And I'm going to cry. And I'm going to tell him that he was right and I was wrong. But there is a space in between, you know, where he says, how come my father didn't tell me these things? He should have been more masculine. He should have belted me, slapped me. But your father was far too kind and generous. He didn't want to be physical. He tried. And like all fathers, he failed. You know why? It's a natural law. You can't make the grass grow by pulling it. Your father can't give you his wisdom, no matter how much he tries. It's something you have to get to by yourself. And the only way you get to wisdom? Pain. And pain, it's something profoundly unpleasant to your organism. So you know what you do? You distract yourself. So something we'll talk about later on. Now, as this young kid is walking back home, his father sees him from a distance. But fathers, good fathers, always know that children always have to go straight. Always. Not because they want to, it's just because they lack the proper experience, insight. The father sees him, and you know what he does? He doesn't go back to the house and lock the door. He doesn't say, oh, I put my blood and sweat and all that money and that guy just wasted on booze. He's an outcast. Because he knows that human beings, for the most part, lack experience and therefore profoundly ignorant and have no choice but to sin, miss the mark. Always. You will always get it wrong. The father runs to him, hugs him, kisses him. Let me give you a bath. Let me give you new clothes. Let me barbecue you some steak. The other son comes to him and says, what the hell is this? Why is my father so happy? Who's barbecuing and for what reason? And he says, oh, your brother is back. My brother, who wasted all of your money. How could you like him? How could you love him? He gave you all the stress. You had 5 strokes. How could you receive him like this? He says, it's time to rejoice, man. Your brother was lost, now he's found. And here's the thing. The oldest kid, the 30-year-old who never left his father, has 0 wisdom. The younger kid who goes out there and wastes everything now comes back with wisdom. It makes no sense. I mean, talk about injustice of life. You're a yes man. You're unevolved. You're a no man. You crap on life and life craps on you. All of a sudden you get wisdom. Makes no sense. So which is best to be? Well, there are certain people who are made to say yes, and there are certain people who just can't say yes. Malcolm X, Elijah Muhammad gives him all this power. He says, no, I want truth, man. I don't care for power. I don't want followers. I am in the business of understanding. I don't want simply sheep to follow me. He walks away from the whole thing. Who does that? Only those whose temperaments are no. I'm a student of wisdom, not power, not money. I don't know how these people are made. And there are no how-tos. You can't go to IKEA and come out with a Malcolm X. It doesn't work that way. You can't just desire to be Karl Marx and read a couple of books and write a couple of books and then say, I am Marx. It doesn't work that way. You know, if there are athletes who are freaks like Michael Jordan, Muhammad Ali, you also have intellectual freaks. You have spiritual freaks. You can't just go on YouTube and say, how to become Jesus Christ. How to become a great musician. How to become a Socrates. How to become a philosopher. Unknown, man. You only get those ideas in a how-to culture, and that's here. How to get over depression. How to get over divorce. How to raise your kids.